Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Smits. I'm your moderator for today. I'm a former Weston resident. I'm also a former president of the League of Women Voters of Connecticut, as well as a member and elections moderator in Norwalk. Before we begin, there's a couple of announcements, a little housekeeping, cell phone silence, obvious stuff like that. Please check and make sure. I'm going to do my own while I'm talking to you. And there is a great program. This afternoon, the League of Women Voters is sponsoring a special event along with the Weston History and Culture Center and Friends of the Weston Public Library to commemorate both Black History and Women's History Month. Tammy Denise, a historian and artist, will tell the story of Bessie Coleman, America's first African-American female aviator. Her performance is family-friendly and is being held today at the Weston History and Culture Center, 104 Weston Road, starting at 3 p.m. Walk-ins are welcome and the event is free. So please attend if you can. Hopefully the rain will stop for you. Okay, a couple of thoughts. I'm going to introduce the panelists, but before I want to make sure that this will be a civil conversations, no personal attacks. If you have a question, I ask you to please go up to the mic, state your name and your Weston address. If you have a comment, statements are okay, but you will be limited to 1 minute. Questions are encouraged. And remember that these are your neighbors, and they are, most of them, all volunteers. Give their time and their talents, if you will. There is also a table in the hallway with literature about the league, as well as some important literature about voting, which is going to be early voting is going to start this presidential preference primary. The primary will be on April 2nd. Early voting will be on March 26th, 27th, 28th, and 30th with a break for Good Friday. And early voting will take place in Town Hall from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. Okay. The goal of Speak Up is to give as many people as possible a chance to ask a question. If you have more than one question, you are welcome to do that, but make sure that everyone else has had a chance, and then you can have another go around if you wish. And I have the discretion to determine if a question has been answered or if a topic has been exhausted. All right, here we go. Our guests today are Samantha Nestor, select person. Person, woman, select, you know. Let's see. Karen, is Karen here?
Correct.
Karen, thank you. Karen DeLench.
He's the new guy, so we got time to get to this.
Second select. Steve Etzies, Chair of the Board of Education. Michael Imber, Chair of the Board of Finance. Sally Korsch, Planning and Zoning. Barbara Reynolds, Board of Appeals. Some folks are not on the stage, they're in the front rows. Dave Coprio, Building Board of Appeals. Megan Lucas, Building Committee. Okay. Oh, there you are, sorry. Ruth Lawrenson, Commission on Aging. Sarah Schlechter, Conservation. Elizabeth Poxick, Parks and Rec. Lori Gertz, I don't see her here. Chris Kimberly is not here. All right, Marketing Communications Committee, Carolyn Hill, Berger, I'm going to screw your name up.
That's fine.
Okay, Carolyn's here. Lashot, Town Farm Commission, Kate McConaughey. Sustainability, Eric Schrago. Tree Warden, Tom Fela.
We'll be here later.
You'll be here later. And Peter Gordon, Educational Optimization Committee. Police Chief Ed Henlon is at the end over there. Mark Cooper from the Health District, in the front row. And Lisa Wallach Barbiero, Superintendent of Schools. And I believe that's it. Wow. Okay, so. What, did I miss something? Okay. All right, so if you have a question, please come up to the mic and let's start going. No? No takers? We have questions to start people off. There's always a lag time when everybody gets a little shy. So I will ask the question that everybody wants to know. What is the latest on the Cobb's Mill Inn?
Sally is the best person to answer that.
Well, you want a mic?
I'm usually pretty loud, but, great. The latest on the Cobb's Million is, you probably know as much as I do. There's been no application filed with planning and zoning. We know simply from the news media that I believe the owners have possession of the property again. What they're going to do with it, I couldn't tell you. As you're aware, they did come in with a couple of proposals maybe 2 years ago. The entire occupancy question had to be resolved. It has been resolved, and we are anxious to hear what they choose to do as well. But that's where it is. Nothing in front of us, and no rumors that I could substantiate because I can't comment on anything I might have heard anyway. So nothing, no idea.
Okay, anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I can elaborate a little bit more anecdotally as well. I've met with the owners and they've toured the space with me a couple weeks ago, and another time earlier, much earlier before that. They are working on it. They're rebuilding, they're renovating, they're working on applications to present to Sally and the board. And they, in their own words, hope to open by the end of the year, assuming everything goes well. So we'll see. But it's a beautiful space. They plan to have 2 restaurants, one more casual, one more formal, an event space, obviously, which it was before, a cafe for more sort of quick come in and out kind of coffee service, bakery, and a bar, a beautiful bar. So that's their intent. Hopefully all goes well and everything is, all obstacles are removed.
Thank you. Anybody else on the panel want to take that one? Or are we good on that? Okay, really? Nobody? Come on, get up here. Talk to the mic. Somebody, please. I will keep going. A lot of these questions. Okay, please, go ahead. Come on up and ask your question. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity to ask my question.
Name and address, please.
Pat Weiss, 72 Old Hyde, Weston. I'm going to read my question. An article in the Weston News about, a recent article in the Weston News about the town budget was, let me start again. A recent article in the Weston News was about the town budget and specifically the proposed catch-up budget. That budget requires investments of $3.3 million and has items that are important and reasonable to the functioning of the town and its safety, like fire trucks, aging public works, etc. However, one item listed in the town's obligation for Phase 3 is for the sidewalk project. That phase, unlike Phase 1 and 2, is proposed to go through a residential part of town, not public-facing areas like the schools and administrative areas. As Phase 3 of the sidewalk is not something that the residents of the town asked for, and is being built through a residential part of town, it is out of character with the beauty and semi-rural character of Weston. It also requires cutting down potentially 79 trees, which has a huge and unnecessary environmental impact. Phase 3 of the sidewalks, unlike the other items listed in the capital ideas, serves a tiny percentage of the town's population. So wouldn't it be fiscally responsible to either eliminate that as a line item from the $3.3 million budget or use that money for projects that serve more of the town at large?
Okay, I believe Chairman M.
This is a policy discussion, and I think it belongs to First Selectman.
Just so people understand, we're in the early stages of the budget process. The Board of Finance has not actually received their budget books yet, so some of the budget questions will probably land on the policy side, on the Board of Selectmen side, and on the Board of Education side, depending on which questions you have. Pat, thank you for your very, very good question. One of the things I will say about this project that she's referring to, it is a transportation alternatives project. This is a large grant that sort of closes the loop on the network of sidewalks that we have had funded with state and federal money. This project, it is federally funded but state-run through the Department of Transportation. It is an 80-20, which we refer to in federal projects. 80% is paid for by the government, 20% is paid for by the municipality. It is the same formula that we have for our large-scale bridge projects, which are as expensive. This is a $1.8 million project. In years past, as part of the budget process, we had the 20% covered of the design phase approved by the municipality, approved by the taxpayers. So these numbers were actually already in, some of these figures were already in the budget. This installment of $225,000 compared to a $77.1 million entire budget is a very small percentage, but it is a bit of the capital budget. But I do want to have it as compared to the entire budget. As far as public participation, this project has been going on since 2019. It was part of the plan of conservation and development. Sally can talk a little bit more about the public hearings that were made. This was even pre-COVID, so there was public input and public information. And there was also a significant survey that was done in 2018 that helped inform the plan of conservation and development, where there was a considerable amount of public interest in doing these sidewalks. I will agree, it is a big deal to have sidewalks, our first sidewalks going by residential properties, and we are, I see, it's a big deal. See, God says it's a big deal. And we recognize that public participation is really important. That's why we're moving very slowly. I mean, Weston already moves at glacial pace. We know that, but we are, moving in a way so we can be thoughtful and mindful about the trees that we removed. I will remind folks, we have 600 acres of open space here in Weston. We have had preliminary, and I will say preliminary studies on all the trees. I will say that a significant portion of the trees are either poor or fair or dead, far more than are in good condition. And the tree warden has not condemned the trees, has not made an opinion about the trees. And I don't know if I'm doing this in the right order, Pat, but I also want to say that with every project where we remove trees, we, moving forward, and we actually got ARPA money to do this, that you all voted on, we make sure that there is a replanting plan that is part of that. And I have gotten assurances, and I'm sorry that Dr. Fela is not here, I've gotten assurances that he indeed will be mindful of that. Because folks may not want, because there is a hardship there, and there is real concerns about snow plowing, and I actually want to address this. It is a policy decision that has to be made collectively by the Board of Selectmen. But we have been looking into the different ordinances in different towns. Westport's ordinance on their sidewalks is that all sidewalks that are residential and in front of town property are maintained by the town. Any commercial properties or businesses, those sidewalks in front of those properties are maintained by those commercial property owners. We already are going to be maintaining our own sidewalks. This is a continuation of our sidewalks. As a board, we are going to have to decide whether or not we do that L on Old Hyde and Northfield Road. But that is a decision that will be coming once this project is in a further form of design completion. To give you an idea, the projects and the sidewalks that we're going to be commencing this year, this summer, that project has already gone through the Board of Selectmen for a referral for the 824. It's already gone to Planning and Zoning and received a positive 824 referral report. It is currently, we're putting together our conservation package. for the Conservation Commission. This project that they're referring to, we are not at that stage yet. And I want to keep encouraging, one of the conversations that Pat and I have actually had is about snow removal and about, looking into what other towns are so that people don't have that hardship. Another conversation that we had was about the trees and about making sure that the shading is there and making sure that we still feel like Old Hyde Road. And it is something we've communicated very, directly with our tree warden. Yeah, and let me pass this to Sally.
Just to amplify what Sam said, we did approve this on the 8/24, give a positive referral on it. This was also part of the POCD and something that the residents were looking to have. As you're all aware, there's a fair amount of pedestrian traffic along Old Hyde Road. I know myself, I've walked it, and it would be safer and certainly nicer to have a protected walkway. I'm always loath to take out trees. One of the things I always wanted was a tree ordinance, but the town does not want that. That was never considered to be something, a priority, but this was. So we endorsed it, and I see that it is still being talked about, and personally I would like to see it go forward.
Thank you, Sally.
I'm sorry, what was it?
No, I just.
Is there anything else on this subject?
I think one of the other items that gets confusing is that I want to make clear that this project, which is that Pat's referring to, goes on Old Hyde and then takes a right and it goes to Northfield Church. There is also a multi-use trail that's part of this project that utilizes an existing trail off of parade ground. That is in its very early stages of design. The entire program is a package. I'd like to say that this project will be done in 2025, but sometimes you make plans and God laughs. So I'm a little bit, I want to be, honest about that while we navigate that path moving forward. The sidewalks that are going in this summer, there is a sidewalk that goes all the way from the beginning in front of Town Hall that goes up to Northfield Church. That sidewalk will be heading to that has to be approved by the Historic District Commission as well. And that part of that sidewalk, there's another sidewalk that leads from the middle school up up Lord's Highway. It goes by Revson Field, up Lord's Highway. You see the kids walking on that hill on Revson Field, very dangerous. Again, if this project was not funded through the Transportation Alternatives Grant, I feel very strongly that the project would have been funded with Safe Streets for Schools. And the Safe Way to Walk for Schools that the state has initiated. The other part of this project that people are very excited about, that I don't want folks to be confused about, is there is a turning lane that comes from Weston Road into School Road, both on the north and southbound road, the southbound ways. That project we will be having a special town meeting for, because the state is acquiring through a right-of-way a sliver of our commercial district, of the village district. And they will be providing $85,000 for that sliver of road because of the extended right-of-way for the turning lane. So there's a lot of, we finished the sidewalk, we've got this one coming up this summer, and then we've got the one that's a bigger one that Pat was talking about. So you are going to be asked to participate very shortly in a special town meeting on March 19th on that program.
Okay, thank you for that. There is a light switch over there by the wall, guys. I want to step away. Thank you. Another question?
Comment. I'm Bob Using off Davis Hill Road. not specifically about this, but on anything on the town budget. There's an opportunity to remind everybody that you can avail yourselves of April 24th
April 24th, Wednesday, April 24th.
is the annual town budget meeting. And in recent years, since the redoing of the town charter, there's been a quorum requirement that has rarely or has never been met. And so the proposed budget goes to a ballot, and you really can't get into the it's difficult or not possible to get into granularity on specific items. But if there were to be a quorum, if more people showed up, then there would be an opportunity for any item that is in the budget, except for approval, you could get into a discussion about items on the budget at that time. So just a plug for the ATBM.
It's a good idea. Relationships and communities are built in person. That's why we're all here today. Okay, anybody else have a question? I see Dr. Fela is making his way to the stage. Mr. Kimberly, I believe you're in the back. There's a seat for you in the front if you would like it.
I prefer it back here, thank you.
Oh, okay. Just pointing that out. All right, any other questions? If you have a question, you have to come up and stand up and talk into the mic. I see some hands back there. Come on up. Come on up.
Amy Sanborn, Old Tide. I just want to thank the league for organizing this and all of you for taking your time on this glorious Saturday morning. On February 3rd, there was a meeting which I was not able to attend with the legislators with Sam, with Senator Maher and Rep. Hughes. And there was one discussion, and I've heard it was accurate, and it's from Weston Today. Thank you, Ted. First Selectman Nestor said the legislators can be instrumental in helping Weston build infrastructure needed to fulfill the plan of Conservation Development's vision of commercial development in the Village District. She says she will be leaning on them heavily for assistance with infrastructure, citing the maxed out capacity of the septic system at the Town Hall complex, which led to the demise of the Weston Public Library expansion. My comment is I was the vice chair of the Offutt Center Committee, and while there was some miscommunication and some misunderstandings related to septic, it did not fall apart because the septic was maxed out. In fact, we had a septic location. The addition was going to have 2 bathrooms that was up on the southeast corner up the hill, and all we needed to do was to come up with a location for a reserve septic, and that is where communication broke down. It was not due to maxed out capacity. That may have changed. I don't know if there's anything with the reno of the police station that brought septic up, but what would I know? But I do have a question, and it's policy, although it relates to the budget.
Actually, can I address that?
Yes.
In 2014, when there was a proposal to do the police station, indeed, the septic capacity was maxed out. There was, and Mark is nodding his head. Mark actually knows that, and especially since I've been on board as first select woman, I have been made aware that we were at septic capacity. I know the proposal you were talking about doing a leaching field into the area over there. That was not, I just want to address, like, when you said, I don't know if
No, that's fine.
the septic capacity. In 2014, the town was aware that we were at septic capacity. And the numbers that were bantered around for the library to hook up to the Xenon plant was cost prohibitive. And when I first came on board, I actually worked with the health department to get a consultant on board to help us determine what our septic options were. We started that process. It was approved by the Board of Selectmen, and that appropriation was approved by the Board of Finance. That process happened in 2022. We have a phase 2 of that study that was being done and being funded by the State Revolving Fund, and we will be getting those specific numbers in March. So what was proposed in that program, I do not doubt that there was something else proposed, but what I can tell you is that when I came on board, and I was a selectman, and what I was told as the second selectman during the library program, and I wasn't involved in executive sessions, and I was told by the former town administrator that the breaking point of this library project, among other things, was the fact that we did not have the septic capacity, and the plan that you're talking about would not work.
Okay, well, we did all look at the 2014 Chikuski and Humes work, and most of their perk test work was done on South House Field, and we were told that while it might have worked for the police station on testosterone, that the school might have septic issues, and that wasn't an issue. But I think you were misadvised, and I have all the paperwork. All we needed was a reserve septic. So my question is, going forward, is twofold, and it's policy. In the 25-26 budget, there's $1.5 million for possible septic expansion of the town hall complex design decision, TK3 2024, whatever that means. But there's no capital expenditures in the future for the building. So from a policy perspective, what is the purpose of spending $1.5 million? Well, let me just finish, because the other part of the question is, there's also been the emotional word sewer tossed around, and, well, I'm agnostic, I'm just saying emotional.
Nobody wants to go into the sewer business, I'll tell you that.
But, you know, what is the philosophical thought about that? Does it relate to the POCD and the village district, and if it were required, who pays for it if it has to be implemented as development? So I've got why do you need to spend $1.5 million on septic? We're not building something that I don't see in the CapEx.
Well, I want to just make it clear to the public, what she's referring to is a proposed 5-year plan that we have been working very hard to put what we know, what we don't know, and what we think might happen. We could easily have put in TBD in that number. What we do know is that we currently have a number of facilities that are part of our municipal campus that are past its useful life, infested with vermin, or were originally kindergarten classrooms 3 decades ago. We have to find a place and come up with a plan for our employees, a place for our residents to go to the building department, a place for people to get their permits, a place for my friend Dr. Fela to have an office. All these things we have to plan for. Actually, in this year's budget, and you can look in the line items, there is a line item for planning and a line item to make sure that we are looking at what all the options are and see that we don't just throw good money out after bad. As part of that plan, there might be an extension on the town hall. There might be knocking down, and I'm saying there might be knocking down the beach house over at Morehouse Field and putting something there. What we have to do is spend time working on the plans, but also put best estimates of what we think could possibly be the numbers in case we decide that the best option is to do an extension on the town hall. We are going to have to expand septic capacity. We should have done this a long time ago when we knew that this was imminent and we knew that this was an issue. We have it put in the budget. We will know moving forward once we have plans and once we have an idea of what exactly we are doing, what that will be. Will that septic capacity, will expanding septic capacity and having a community, will it be having a community septic under, and I know I get in the weeds, but you know, this is what happens when you're wonky like me. Will it be having a community septic like was discussed in the POCD? underneath the softball field that's over there? I don't know. I am not the engineer working on this. I think we are not in the business of doing a sewer district. We are not a town, we are not big enough to do something like that. But what I do know is that currently, we do not have the infrastructure in place to even explore other options. We have to do a new modular to replace the old modular because we have, which is where our annex is, which is almost 2 decades old, because we don't have a place to put the employees and a public-facing location so that people who come to our building department, which is one of our highest revenue areas in town, and it's the place where people come and want to invest in Weston. Right now, we don't have a place for them to go. We don't have another option because we can't add on to town hall, and we're not going to just react. We are going to take the time, and we are going to also be intellectually honest and say, hey town, down the road, these expenses are going to hit us. And this could be a possibility. And when you are looking at large items like that, you go to people, to circle back to the beginning of your conversation, you go to people like our state reps, like the lieutenant governor, like our congressman, and say, there's all this money for infrastructure. You've funneled it all to Connecticut. How are we going to be able to avail ourselves of those opportunities so that we can provide the best services to our town and have the most efficient running municipality that we can? And I would love to see the information.
Well, I was going to say, I will pull the information together that shows what the issue was and that it was not maxing out. So maybe it'll help, maybe it's changed, but thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else? Come on up to the mic, sir, if you would. You're definitely on a line now. Hang on 1 second. Go ahead.
I could wait.
He beat you to it. Go ahead.
Excuse me, Liz. Hi, I'm Tom Sosha, 25 Deer Run Trail. I'm on Sustainable Weston. Speak positively. I think there's one place in town that is saving taxpayer money, that is benefiting 70% of the high schoolers, that is raising money, and that is benefiting the environment. How many people would raise their hand and say that's the transfer station? She was there. So, to give a bit of background, since 2020 of March, so 4 years from now, or 4 years prior, we've collected over 800,000 cans and bottles there. We have saved the town over $12,000 in hauling. 800,000 cans and bottles is the tonnage, works out to over $12,000. We have raised for the high schoolers over $40,000. Last year we did $12,000, and this year, since the cans and bottles has gone from 5 to 10 cents, we hope to do $24,000. So my question is, what are the plans for the transfer station, given the benefit that it currently has to the community, and how can we get more people to use it?
Okay, you want that.
I totally want this. I
Really?
just
Okay.
totally want this. I actually just came from the transfer station. I know I'm in all white, but I was at the transfer station doing the ribbon cutting for the launch of our Food Scraps Recycling Program, which is a mouthful, but it's really composting. But it's what we call that now. We recently did a program at La Chotte. What do you say, Kat? There were over 100 people there, and it was so well attended. This is a program that is modeled itself really after the successful recycling program that we have here in Weston. And the first step in kind of recognizing ourselves as sort of stewards of the land and responsible for the kids who come after us is really finding ways and the low-hanging fruit to reduce our waste. And one of the easiest ways to do that is, number one, our recycling, and number two is food scraps recycling. We have an amazing program that was launched with ARPA money, and that program will be a 2-year program, and moving forward after that, it will be partially funded because it's like $5,000, but it will be partially funded with money, we hope, from our transfer, our solar array that is poised to go on the landfill cap. We have big plans for the transfer station. But again, those are just ideas right now. But what we are doing as part of the planning money that we have in the budget, we are looking at what is that going to cost to do a transfer station that provides excellent public service, customer service, reduces our impact on the environment, and saves the taxpayers money. Because what I want to remind everybody is that every bottle, can, and food waste that is not in the garbage that you put, not in the trash that you bring to the recycling, that is less weight. And the less weight that we have in our waste, the less money that we are having taxpayers spend to cart, because I want to remind everybody, we have a waste problem here, a garbage problem here in Connecticut. We have way too much garbage, and yeah, it's a problem, I can talk about this for way too long. We have way too much garbage than Connecticut can handle, so we actually pay to have trucks cart our waste to other states, which is ridiculous, expensive, and just so damaging to the environment. So what we and 8 other towns have started doing is the food scraps recycling program. As far as the infrastructure of the transfer station, we are getting numbers, we are getting designs, hopefully after July 1. If you ever want to go see a great model transportation, it is Newtown. Not that you want to go on a trip, but Newtown is excellent, and they are also partners with an association called HRRA, which provides excellent marketing materials. They're an amazing partner, and I think the response that I saw, Tom, to the food scraps recycling program, and the number of children that participate in this recycling program, regular recycling program, I think that it's going to build. But now, and this is the last part I'm going to say, now that the transfer station has finally gone to the 20th century with credit card payments, accepting credit cards rather than cash or check, what we can do is we can track households. Not people's names, but we can track addresses, and we will have a clear idea of how many people are using the transfer station as compared to the number of households. And we have been working with Sustainable Weston to really get the word out for the food scraps recycling program. And we hope that will help enable some of the new people who've moved to town to avail themselves of the transfer station. But yes, I think there are amazing ways to do good and save money.
Okay.
If I could just weigh in on this as well. This just doesn't begin at the transfer station, it actually begins in the schools. And I'll let Superintendent Gregorio elaborate on this, but Weston at the school level is a leader in Fairfield County, and it starts with the elementary school and goes all the way to high school.
You have a gem in Mike
Aikenhead.
Yes.
Well, Mike Aikenhead is the teacher that does environmental science, and I'm very proud that I was able, because we were both in Builders Beyond Borders on the board, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, so hey, you like working at Staples? How about coming to Weston? We're doing an environmental science program. And so, yeah, he's a gem. And thank you also, Mr. Sosha, because your boys, the whole team has done an incredible amount of work. But it does start, as Steve said, with the little ones. I was reminded of it just the other day because Hurlbut does one book, right, every year, and it's coming up, unveiling of the book, it's a big secret. But last year, the book was about the turtles, and the little children said, oh, we have turtles, every classroom has a turtle, and all I'm thinking of is, oh my goodness, where are these turtles? They were fake, they were stuffed turtles. But the point was they learned through the book about not using disposable straws. And the second graders went on a big, project about, disposable straws are not good. They're not good for the turtles, they're not good for the beaches, the whole thing. So it does start with the little ones, with their shutting the lights off, all of that. We have a very active green team of adults helping the little ones at Hurlbut. We have an unbelievable green team that's taken off now at WIS under the direction of Mr. Bisegli, who is, yes, the son of Mr. Bisegli, which I just think is so cool. The high school and the middle school are now doing composting and recycling. We have AP environmental, regular environmental, sustainable living courses at the high school. So we have this whole trajectory. Hydroponic gardens. I know that they're building another pollinator garden within courtyard at the high school. It is so exciting to hear these students. They were the ones that came and presented and said, we want to do this composting. And Mr. Cross went, you were there, right? We went to hear the presentation by these students who were so excited at the high school, and then to see their idea take off. That's what it's all about, right?
It is circular because the money or the cans that are donated go to fund some of these programs as well.
Yes,
So-
and we really, I greatly appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I'm so proud. We are a National Green School at the high school, and I know Harry's back there, Patty's School at the WIS is now in the Acorn status, so we're going to work our way up to becoming a green school at the WIS, and I'll stop, but it's really very exciting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. You had a question? Yeah. Over.
Name and address.
Andrew Palladino, 126 Good Hill Road. Thank you, Laura, Lee, and everyone who's here and the audience as well for lots of questions. I hope one of my fellow residents asked about POCD in the Village District, but my burning question is about the reval. So I recently attended a joint Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance meeting about the reevaluation. Sparsely attended. This morning, my wife was reading Weston Today piece, thanks Ted, if you're in the room, about it, and she had a lot of questions about reevaluation, the mill rate. Without getting into the weeds, can we briefly talk about it, the 36,000-foot view of the reval and what that means for residents? Thank you.
The tax assessor obviously is not here, but our chair of the Board of Assessment Appeals. Barbara, do you want to answer this, or do you want me to answer this?
Come on, Barbara.
No, it's, hey, you guys know I'm not afraid of saying anything, but I'm not really sure
What the
your
question
is, Andrew.
Andrew, you asking what is the reval?
A basic understanding about what the reval means versus the mill rate versus taxes.
I'll answer that question.
Broad
I'll answer
question
that
about
question.
the process.
Okay, I'll answer the question about the process. So every 5 years, state mandated, unless, hey, Mike, do you want to answer this?
You're rolling.
Here.
Some days the mic is like a hot potato.
As Sam was starting to explain, the state mandates a revaluation of our grand list, which is comprised of the value of our homes, our cars, and I think our business property.
Well, personal property.
Personal property, okay. And the grand list is then valued at 70% of the market value that the hired consultants come up with. And then that adjusted value, that the assessed value, is what we use to determine what the mill rate will be based on whatever the final approved town budget is for the year. So the grand list goes up. If the budget stays flat, then the mill rate goes down. and it should equal out still, the math, the product still equals the budget. The only thing that's really going to change your taxes is the change in the dollar value of the budget and what the value of your home is, how it changed relative to the value of other homes in town. So a lot of people go crazy saying, hey, you know, the grand list is up 38%. Okay, the budget that's being presented to the Board of Finance is showing a mill rate that's declining by about 27%. These are big numbers, big moves, but really what the number you should be focused on is what's the increase in the budget? It's like 1.5%.
Yeah.
And what did the value of your home change relative to others? That's really it. There's just a lot of hullabaloo that goes on every year about the grand list and every 5 years when it gets revalued. But don't panic. If you want to read this again, look up in Weston today. I wrote a letter about this back in, I think, early December. Don't panic is the theme of the letter.
Okay.
And I invite everyone to look at the other towns. Our grand list growth is larger than other towns, and the reason why is because our property values did go up so much. The average was 42% or 42%. And so if you're in that range, you're rising tide with everyone else. So, and if you're lower, you know, good for you. Your taxes are probably going to go down. But the reason why you have a town like New Canaan or Ridgefield not have the same grand list growth, that is because their grand list also includes commercial properties, which they have a significant number of, and commercial properties do not have the swings and did not experience the swings that residential properties did. So their mill rate is not going to react go down like our mill rate will
Mention
go
the
down.
autos.
What?
Mention the autos.
Oh, yes. The other component is our autos, our automobiles. Your automobiles did not go up 40%, although it felt like 2 years ago they did. The supply chain has finally settled, so the used car market is not skyrocketing. So on top of the mill rate dropping from 32 to possibly 24 mills, you also have across the board, about 5% reduction on average in your automobile's assessed value. So whatever your taxes might be, just realize on your car values have most likely gone down 5%, some more, some less. And on top of that, you will have a reduction of about 26% in the mill rate. So everybody's car taxes are really, really going down. So as the budget stands right now, the collective impact on most of your taxes, is a very small number, as long as, Mike Imber and his team don't go crazy.
The view is lovely under the bus.
I know it's not you. I know it's really, everybody else. I had to make a joke about that. Don't joke about taxes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Come on up to the mic if you would. Thanks.
Gary Weiss on Hyde Road. There was some inference about the condition of the trees in phase 3 of the sidewalk project. I know that the town tasked Bartlett Tree Company to do a survey on the impact on those trees, which would stay, which would go. And maybe Dr. Fowler can fill us in on that report.
Okay, Dr. Fowler, would someone give him a mic?
So far, no one has asked me to do anything with the trees. Okay, so that's the short answer. There is a Bartlett report. I haven't reviewed it in great detail. I'm not sure when the town is going to release it. I think it's a work product that came from a consultant, and that's the end of the story. So that might have influence over the designers of the sidewalk on what trees stay and which ones go. But I have to be informed by the Board of Selectmen to actually post the trees. So you'll all know about it when I do that.
And we aren't there yet. I did mention in that we did receive a report, a significant number of the items in that report. The report also includes the multi-trail area. A significant number of the items are, you know, fair, poor, or dead. But, you know, I don't have the numbers at my fingertips. And ultimately, as I said, the tree removal comes with a plan from the tree warden. And the tree wardens condemns, is it the word condemn the trees? Posts, sorry. Posts what trees get removed, and in addition, provides a plan of either replanting. And we're not, and as I said before in the meeting, this could be as far out as 2026. We hope it's 2025, but again, we have another phase that we're working on at the moment.
Just so you know the process, so when the trees are posted, you can write to me, and we'll have a public hearing. The tree warden will conduct a public hearing. I will take all that information, and then I have to make a decision. You know, it'll be a written decision, and if anybody wants to appeal that, they can appeal that to the Superior Court. So the statute's very clear on what happens. And as you know, I've done this before, and I'm open to suggestions and information, and I try to be absolutely fair, and I love trees as much as anybody in this room. So my job is to care and control trees as much as I can. Nature has its own course. So, and you know, we're doing a pretty good job, by the way, if I might say, with taking care of the imminent hazard trees. We have a great team. The chief's part of the team, our emergency services, our dispatch, the Department of Public Works with Larry Roberts. Is Larry here?
No, he's not. He's at the transfer station.
Larry's doing a great job. And we got this team we put together with our contract arborist, and we're out there. We take down 150, 200 trees on a very small budget. We also have other team members with Department of Transportation with 12 miles of road here. We also have Eversource that works on trees everywhere, on private property, on private roads, as well as public areas. So we're keeping ahead of it, I think, at this point, and we're having less incidents. We had a storm just before Christmas, I think. It was in January, I can forget. We've had a lot of storms, but we don't have as many incidents as we used to have. So we're happy that we've been able to put a whole team together and take care of the trees. We're also have a budget now, proposing a budget to take care of the ornamental trees around here, do a better job of beautifying the area and so forth. And I personally am propagating trees. Eversource every year brings us 100 trees, and whatever's left over, I kind of cultivate them and then bring them back and plant them. And I want to tell you about April 27th, one last thing. April 27th is Green Up Day. We've been doing this in the town for 50 years, picking up litter, and you have an incentive to come to the Northfield Church at 9 a.m. and get your bag and go out and clean up the roadsides and public lands. And hopefully Eversource will bring those trees again, and you'll get a tree.
Thank you, the Lorax system.
And we have been investing more every year, and the town passed money in the ARPA plan for tree removal and maintenance.
Weston loves its trees.
Hi, I'm Keith Johnson. I'm a very happy citizen, and based on the recent, Singing Oaks, and based on the recent revaluation, I'm very wealthy.
What's your address?
I just have one comment, and then I have a question for the police chief. I looked at all the studies you guys have done on the schools and the rebuilding. I know we're considering, issuing bonds to do some new renovations and stuff. And the biggest gleaming topic I've had, and I also sit on 2 boards for colleges, declining enrollment is real. I mean, we're seeing it in the colleges that we have, and it's going to happen here as well. It's still going to happen. But what I got out of the facility studies was We've done a horrible job in the last 10 or 15 years on our facilities. I mean, we have mice, we have rotted wood, and anyone who owns a house in Weston knows if you have wood rot, if you don't fix it today, it's going to cost 5 times more in the future.
You're here.
So my only encouragement to you, the select people, the Board of Finance is, Mike knows this, present value the pain. So if you're going to issue bonds, issue enough bonds, but fix what we already have built and own and get that working. If we have school bathrooms that are in terrible condition, fix them. If we have locker rooms, which I've been in, fix them. I'm appalled that we don't have classrooms open because they have mold. If we have mold in a classroom, fix it, you know. We would do it if it was my house, so we should do that here. That's my comment. You guys can live it. The next comment was, I have friends in New York who want to move to Weston. They're Jewish, and the anti-Semitism. But I was at a dinner recently with neighbors, Jewish neighbors, and they're all taking gun classes. And they're all buying guns. And these are the most passive friends I own. How many gun permits have you been seeing?
Well, as you know, to get a gun permit in the state of Connecticut, you have to go through your local town. Your local police department is the first step, where you apply and we vet the applicant. It's a good question. Since October 6th, there was a huge uptick in applications in Weston for gun permits. You're exactly right. And it's because of the worldwide politics right now. People feel a need to protect themselves. Second Amendment allows you to do that if you qualify under the state guidelines for that. Just this past month, it's leveled off. I had a very few number of people that came in this month. But from October until this month, and it's cyclical. It happens every time there's a violent event, either around the world or in the United States. We see it. I do chat with the people who come into me about, the efficacy of it. As long as they meet the requirements and their storage requirements, they're allowed to do it. I think it's just a society right now. There's a lot of craziness out there. People sometimes feel unsafe, and they decide they're going to use their right to, get a pistol permit and protect themselves in whatever way they need to. But it's cyclical. Like I said, this month I've had very few, but since October 6th I've had quite a few. And they've articulated that's why. That's why. So I'm not a psychologist. I don't know why. That some people feel that that helps them feel safer in their homes. We have a pretty robust program in Weston. We just endeavored a facility review of all the churches in town and the schools. My captain, Captain Brodacki, is certified by Homeland Security on environmental design of security for buildings, public and private, and we just endeavored to do that in Weston. There's some grant money available to the local churches to do that, and they're going to be making application to. It's always good to just review. Sometimes the incidents do force us to take a better look at what we do here. And even though it's Weston, little Weston, we do have places people gather. The churches in town are one of them. The schools is certainly one of them. It's the biggest population of people we have during the day, during the week, and on the weekends also for public events, sports events over there. So we're very aware of it. We make sure we staff properly, especially the schools when they're in session with the police department, and we consult regularly with the Board of Ed and the security team that the Board of Ed has in place over there. So you're right, that's a good observation. That's my observation of why.
Okay, thank you. And I think you meant October 7th. You said 6th.
Oh.
We knew what you meant. Okay, we have a couple of questions coming up. Come on up.
Hi, Tim Rogers, Newtown Turnpike. Do I have to give my social security?
No. Address is fine.
I want to know, are there shared services that we're going to move forward with other neighboring towns?
Well, I don't know yet. One of the things that we have found that has been wildly successful as far as shared services is our health district. We have a program that we work, originally it was the Weston Westport Health District, and we combined services with Easton, and now we are the Aspetuck Health District. It doesn't necessarily streamline, it hasn't resulted in a huge reduction because all of this happened during COVID. But what it has been enabled us to do is to react regionally and as a group to different things, and to be able to kind of stand united in COVID and other circumstances that come our way. We have a very successful regional program with our regional paramedic that we share with Wilton. We have an all-volunteer EMS and fire. If we did not share those services with the regional paramedic, I think it would be cost prohibitive to us. We did recently have our animal control officer resign, and he finally retired. We did, again, look into, and that is a conversation with unions. These are union positions. So eliminating the union positions and regionalizing all have a number of significant impacts that would find our way. But if we could find kind of the sweet spot that we have with the Aspetuck Health District, with our different emergency services, when we have mutual aid, the whole reason why a main reason why we went to the land mobile radio system that we did do is so that we could work better and be on the same system as our colleagues around the region. But Weston, is not, I'm not going to speak for the schools, but we are not in a position to regionalize DPW or our tree warden or, conservation planner. That work is really focused on Weston here. Did you have any specific ideas about what you wanted to regionalize?
Richard, do you have any ideas? I just figured there were ways to save money.
Yeah, I will say we are regionalizing the health district. It doesn't, the money saving is de minimis, but what the value is very big, because we get to kind of punch higher than our weight class, We're little, but with Westport and with Easton, we kind of command more attention. And same with our health emergency services. You might want to talk about Howard.
Well, the difficulty, Tim, is, and I've been engaged in this when I was on the board of finance, is we've had conversations about regionalizing emergency dispatch, as an example. And the issue always is, sure, it's a great idea as long as you move it to my town. Right? So they say, yeah, we could do it with Wilton or Richfield and Reading, but you have to move all your services to our town. So it becomes a give and take. Westport, as an example, has regionalization of emergency services with Fairfield, and they do fire from McKinnon, I believe. That took 10 years to get in place. Sacred Heart gave property in the old GE facility to allow them to do it, and the integration of that became relatively seamless, and it took 7, 8 years. You might know, Stefan, if you were all engaged, following that. It's a great idea, but to Samantha's point, a lot of it has to do with unions and the positions that are associated with them. So, yeah, it sounds good, but affecting it is much more difficult.
Okay, thank you. A couple questions. Go ahead, Wade. Come on up.
My name is Woody Bliss, and I live on Grace Farm Road. Chief, I've got I think an easy question for you. Okay. In Weston and the surrounding towns in the last year or so, we've had a lot of cars stolen from people's driveways and garages. and in almost every single case, the keys or fob were left in the car. Have you got any advice for us?
Check your pockets right now.
That was an easy question. Lock your car and take your key fob. Every car that has been stolen, I looked at the stats before I came here, we had 16 cars stolen in Weston last calendar year, 16. Every one of them, the car was open and the key fob was in the car. These are crimes of opportunity. It's generally speaking, juveniles from other towns, usually the big towns, and I know that because our cars are being recovered in Hartford, Waterbury, and Bridgeport. We generally recover them with little damage, not always. It worries me tremendously. We've had, one of the last cars was taken out of a garage. The car was open, the key fobs were in it. I have a sneaking suspicion they might have followed the person. If you recall the Westport incidents, which were a number of months ago, we had a similar incident here in Weston a number of months ago. Very, very high-end car that you would know right away was a very high-end car. A gated residence that you can't get in. The gentleman pulled in for a couple of minutes to run inside to get something. He came back out, the car was gone. My suspicion is we tracked the car, tracked it through Middlebury, we tracked it to Waterbury, went to the Waterbury High School. We sent Waterbury officers there. They spotted the car. The suspects they took off with the car. We don't chase stolen motor vehicles unless they're involved with crimes of violence. It's our policy, it's a statewide policy. But Woody, lock your car, take your key fobs. The good news is surrounding towns are being hit, Westport specifically, Greenwich is being hit. And we're trying the best we could do to be visible out there. Just don't make it easy. If you have a garage, put it in the garage, close the garage at night, keep your cameras on. That's what I would say. They're down a little bit this year, but I hate to say that publicly because one day we have them and the next day we don't. We had 3 taken in one day last year. And they come in another vehicle. We see them on the surveillance cameras at the homes, your Ring cameras. Car pulls up at the end of the driveway. A very short person wearing all black with a hood runs up the driveway and pulls the door. If it opens, they get in. They either rummage through the car or they just sit down and push the button. If the key fob's in the car or the vicinity, it's going to start the car and they leave. So it's not like when I was a young police officer where they were breaking the glass and hot wiring the cars. It's a whole different thing now. And we're able to track them and we do recover many of them. But it's worrying me as the police chief when they're getting so brazen as they may be following people home from a shopping center and say, gee, that's a nice car. I wonder where they're going to go with that. Follow them home and then take the opportunity to see if the car's open with the keys in it. So.
Okay, good advice. Take your keys.
Good morning. Thank you everyone for being here. Andrea Chase, Highacre Road. This is a very narrow question, so I've waited to make sure that everyone got their questions in. There is a house on Highacre Road on the south side near a tower that has been deserted and empty since we moved here 21 years ago. And it is dilapidated, it's about to fall down, it has access, it's completely overgrown, it looks like Sleeping Beauty's castle. Is there anything that can be done about this? Because I believe it's an attractive nuisance, I worry about curious kids, and it really brings down the neighborhood, and I think it probably attracts crime. Thank you.
Are you asking about a blight ordinance?
I'm just asking about that house, I don't care.
I don't know the details about that house. I don't know if the house is owned. I don't know the house, the house has not, the house pays taxes. I would assume we have not, because I don't think that house has come up in our tax sale. If it is owned by an individual and they hadn't been paying taxes and they were delinquent in taxes and it was not sold in the tax sale, it would be one of the town, we would own it as a town. Regarding ordinances, regarding residences and people who own residences, we don't have a blight ordinance. So there's the answer to your question. If there's nobody there, I would find out who the property owners are. That can be discovered at town hall, and, you know, start trying to get the property owners to do something. But I'm loath to go and, once you start pushing somebody on private property to do things, it becomes problematic. But I will say, you're not the first person who's come to me regarding a blight ordinance. I don't know if there are any people who are here on Wells Hill Road with that they had a residence. Oh, former selectman
Thank you.
Rosinger.
Well, just quickly.
Here, go ahead, take the mic.
I know that if the house presents a danger, you can contact the fire marshal, and the fire marshal can take steps to at least board it up and make it safe.
Okay,
Stabilize.
because I worry about people. It isn't, you know, like I don't like it because it's ugly. I think it's dangerous.
Thank you. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions out there? I have a couple from New Hampshire, from Margaret Wurtenberg, who rules from on high. She's the woman behind the curtain. This is a good question that is about the 300 plus new families in town and its effect on enrollment at schools. Don't jump to that question. Go ahead, please.
I can talk in general about the enrollment in the schools, if that's helpful. I don't know the specific number of new families. I know that we are always concerned with trying to get an accurate count of families. It's been something that's been discussed. You know, once they're in our system, we can send out a survey and say, do you have more that are coming within the family? Part of our challenges is when they are brand new families and we do not know how many little babies are coming down the pipeline. This was especially important this year because, I don't know if you are aware, but the entrance to kindergarten, the age for kindergarten has changed. And you have to be 5 as of September 1st. Now that being said, there's also an appeal process, if you will, like if you have a 4-year-old that you think should really be allowed to go. Mrs. Cadis, the elementary principal, will work with you on that. I know that she's been on road trips for the last few weeks, going to all the different preschools and visiting and checking in with the directors and meeting with families. That being said, we did send out a survey to capture that piece of the incoming to all of the families that were on our listserv for the district. And Sam, you also sent it out on the town level, where it was questions like, you know, how many school age children, how many children do you have, that when will they be going to kindergarten, that kind of thing, to get a sense of the enrollment. One of the things that we have to really understand though about enrollment, and you do have to get in the weeds in it, is, so you have enrollment, like for this upcoming year, we have 28 students less in Weston. 28 students less, but that's over 14 grades, because I'm counting the 3s and the 4s program, which is really terrific program if you don't know it. And so what the important thing about enrollment is you have to study very carefully where the students are and where they're projected to be. You have to look at the class size guidelines, which especially for kindergarten and first grade is 18 to 20. And then you have to make a decision. We make decisions based on how many open seats are there. I'll give you an example. We don't want to start a year where our, let's pick a grade, 5th grade is at 24. We don't want to start that where there's no open spaces. So you can have 6 sections or 5 sections at 24. Where do they go when they come in? You're already going to tip within the first couple of months. I can tell you that we started with a little bit less in 5th grade this year. And right now, it's either 5th or 4th, we only have 2 open spots, and someone's moving in next week. So it's that kind of thing when you plan for enrollment. How many sections? What are the projections? What are both the projections for, you know, we get projections on high, medium, low, and we use the medium. But I know, Lisa, you were one to ask about the low projections. And so I said, that's a good exercise. You take the low projections, and then you plug in the class size that we think is good, and you figure out how many sections we will need for like the next, I don't know, I think I did, it was 5 years. Although I have it for 10. We did it for 5, but then how many open seats will be available? Because the last thing you want to do is you start the year and then all of a sudden we get a call from a 4th grade parent that says, there's 28 kids in my 4th grade class. Yeah, that's concerning. So it's a very, you have to be really careful. And when you hear, less students, what's happening with the students, or declining enrollment, you have to see the sections, you have to see the open seats, you have to make decisions based on K-1 all the ways up to high school. When you look at high school, I hope I'm not going on too much about this, but it's sort of like, I've been here a long time, I get it. You look at the high school, you say, well, why are we running that, AP Chem class for 12 kids when we try to keep it at 15? Well, we have to have AP Chem. All right, we are a competitive school district that needs certain courses like calculus and the top level. You can't have a child going all through the program, gee, sorry, it didn't meet the 15. So at the high school, you'll see the class might be 26 in a social studies class, because we got to use that section. We're very careful about it. I understand my fiduciary responsibility to the town, and we look very carefully at the numbers. And sometimes when we end up with a little bit of a surplus, and they said, well, did you over budget? It's because we're working those numbers all year, trying to figure out during the course of the year, do we need this? We had a situation with intervention, and trying to provide intervention and special education. We are very fortunate in Weston that the staff we have, we work really hard to make sure we have the best possible staff, and staff that have the best possible credentials and multiple certifications. So we had a situation in the fall where we needed more special education in kindergarten. And we could have said, okay, let's ask for more money no, we're not asking for more money. We're going back and we're looking, we figure out with the intervention, we had someone that was doing intervention that was certified in special ed. We made some changes within our staffing scenario to be able to address those students' needs in real time without costing more funds. And that's what we really try to do. It's not just a one-time deal. Every single month, we're looking at another situation. I'm going down the rabbit hole now.
Okay.
But we're doing the same thing, So enrollment, declining enrollment or uptick. You really got to look at it very carefully, and you have to look at it every month of the year.
Okay, so it's a constant
Yeah,
it's a challenge. Okay. Any other questions out there? Come on up. Thank you. We have some more minutes. A few more
Hi,
minutes.
Lisa Flanagan, Mary Lane. Lisa just mentioned I asked a question
Yeah.
about enrollment. And my question was actually twofold then. It was, over the past, I think, 15 or 16 years, enrollment has dropped about 400 students with enrollment.
I think it was 200, but.
Okay, so
200.
200.
200, yes.
Hundreds of students.
Sure.
So I understand within 1 year why you may not see class
Yes.
sections decrease. Over time, I was confused why the ratio,
Staffing.
why the staffing had not been reduced along with a reduction in enrollment. And that's why I asked the question about whether enrollment tracks better to the lower projections rather than to the medium or high, and I believe the Board of Education uses the medium. The other thing I wanted to mention about sustainability was the high school, and I think at least the elementary school, donates their surplus food every week. I'm actually a volunteer with Food Rescue US, and I pick up the donations from the high school every Friday afternoon and donate them to a nonprofit agency. And I believe that the number one thing we can do to try to reduce our issues at the transfer station is to reduce food waste. If you buy the food, eat it. 40% of the food in the state of Connecticut ends up in the garbage. And there's a food pyramid. Composting is a part of that. It's actually a small part of it when it comes to waste. So it's really eliminating food waste. We shouldn't buy it if we're not going to eat it.
Thank you, Lisa. I always forget about that program, and it's very powerful. I appreciate that. So a couple more things, and I'll try to be briefer. When you look at, you say, let's say over the last 10 years we have 200 less students. Well, then 200 less students, someone might think, well, 200 less students, 20 students in a class, that could be 10 classes. Why do we have the same amount of staff? You have to look at both the enrollment projections. And what's interesting, just a quick aside, when you look at both the low and the medium, and you plug in the formula with the sections, there's not that big of a variance that you're gonna save 10, I think it was maybe 2 sections over the next 10 years. But when you look at the staffing, you also have to look at the quality and the program that you're trying to deliver. I'll give you an example. We have a college and career counselor now, that is a certified college and career counselor at the high school. That was a new staff person, because prior, we had, it was in the non-certified paraprofessional unit. The woman did a great job. I think people volunteered there. But given the situation with college admissions and everything, we need to give our students the best. So there are different fluctuations. After COVID, we saw that we needed more social workers in the schools because of social emotional issues with students. So I would encourage you, I'm not going to say any more about it now, to go to the website, district website. Go to the district website, there's a thing that says budget, it's a big icon. In that budget, there are all kinds of supplemental materials, including questions that people asked in the public. I think it's the second document that we produced, where I go through and I cite specific examples of all of the different staffing changes or reconfigurations that we have done over the last, like I said, I've been here a long time, of how we've reallocated staff. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? We have time for one more. If not, I will ask one of Margaret's questions. This is a sustainability, but it's kind of not. So I'm going to ask it, and we'll see who wants to answer this. How does road maintenance relate to our changing climate? For example, do we need more drainage structures, and what are the budgetary implications?
Roads, my second favorite topic.
I know.
Thank you, Margaret. The first thing I'm going to address is thank you for 2 members of sustainability to be here, Eric and Nikki. This isn't going, I'm not going to throw this your way. One of the first things our new DPW director did when he came on board was actually do a deep dive into the roads. We were on the 3rd year of a paving plan that we had set up with a company called Beta Group. They had done an analysis 5 years ago in 2019 where they looked at our roads. They gave us a plan. A DPW director and his team looked at the state of the roads as compared to where we were supposed to be, and we weren't quite there. Some of the reasons do have to do with extreme weather, but also when you look at the roads, and you guys are going to tune out, but when you look at the roads, it's not just potholes and cracks, it's culverts. It's how is the drainage happening? How are we curbing? How are we maintaining the roads? What are we doing to the roads that are so damaged that they're literally washing into other roads? These are questions that we have had Larry try to come up with more answers to. Just so people know, full transparency, the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen are doing a joint meeting on March 11th to talk about the roads. Vice Chair of the Board of Finance, Jeff Farr, and Second Selectman Tony Pesco, along with our DPW Director. They're working hard to put together a program, an informational program for all of us to really understand what's going on with the roads. We recently contracted with Beta Group to do another camera study like they did 5 years ago to sort of see what their cameras say versus what their database kind of spits out and what our four-person and our DPW directors can see with their eyes. But, you know, resiliency and coastal resiliency is a real problem in the communities south of us. We do have, I mean, is there anybody here on the Newtown Turnpike? Anyway, there are some dirt roads that are just washed away, Old Hyde Road extension. There are roads like Lions Plain, which we have state funding for, along with Valley Forge Road. The erosion, I think, yes, some of it's extreme weather, but others are, when you do a road, you should be looking at the drainage, and it should not just be paving. The prepping for the roads are just as important as the actual working with the contractor. And we have a real awareness now of, just investing in paving roads. I'm not sure that is entirely proactive. And we are embarking on a little bit of catch-up. And to the Board of Finance's credit, in 2020, they did look at possibly doing bond anticipation notes for a large chunk of the roads, but it was COVID. We didn't know what the world would be doing, and we didn't go about it that way. Now that it's 2024, and our debt service has gone down significantly, and we have a pause between large bonds, a large bonding program, and coming off of the previous one, this is a very advantageous time for us to have things like this financed, but we're never going to be that type of town that finances the road paving. You do have to have maintenance every single year and have the discipline of having road paving in your docket.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question. Come on down. We can take one more question.
Yeah, and I know this is late in the meeting. Marshall Lorenzen and Mountain View Drive. I'm hearing about so much money that's needed in the town, and we've lived in town for a long time. So the question was asked previously about recycling. How could we get more people to recycle? So now I'm listening to a few more things, and so there's a couple questions. If you don't have time to answer.
Slow down. Go ahead, speak into the mic so we can hear you a little better. Thank you.
The question really wasn't answered about how can we get people to be recycling more. My question is, we use city carting, and they collect our recycling, and it goes in their truck, and I have a feeling that perhaps does not contribute to you getting money, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought what was being said is that we need to go to the recycling center and put in our cans and bottles. The other concern I have is it used to be very good that you would separate your newspapers and your cardboard and you would tie it up, and it's like, no, we'll do full stream or one
Single stream.
Thank you. So, no, I'm not saying we go back there, but it's costing the town a lot of money to get rid of the stuff that we can't use that goes to another place. So I'm hoping that perhaps, with Weston Today being here, and that's been a great communication, I was around with Weston Farm coming in my mailbox. Can there be something put together so that we can read an article of some sort or something to promote we need to recycle, what can we do, how can we reduce the expenses that the town is paying so the town has more money resources to use for the other things?
There's a gentleman behind you who's the perfect guy to answer that question, our chair of our sustainability committee.
Thank you for that question. I totally agree with you. More people need to be recycling. I think that we have a lot of new opportunities. Hats off to Nikki, again, for the food scraps, and Tom for all the work that he's done at the transfer station. But frankly, those are meaningless if people aren't using it. So I take that on, and from the Sustainability Committee, we'll work on making sure that more people are aware and getting the word out there.
Okay,
and we've got marketing right there, and Carol.
Well, I just had a question. So when you use a commercial company to pick up your stuff, that does not help our town?
It does not.
It does not. And do you think they actually recycle the recyclables?
Just pass, please.
Hi. And I'm so proud to live in a town that has the opportunity that we hosted at Le Chat the other day, thanks to Nikki Weiss and the transfer station about the food scraps. I learned a lot. I thought transfer stations where I took my stuff, I was always irritated. It was never open when I wanted it to be, which is a Monday morning. And I learned so much about what they do and how much they care about this town. I was very proud to sort of learn of it, and thank you for what you do. For those of y'all that weren't there, you can now use your credit card to pay for both biodegradable bags. There's a $20 kit that you can purchase for food scraps. I was astounded to learn that basically 40% of what goes in there is food scraps. That's your banana peels, your coffee grounds. What a great thing to be able to sort of do away with and to use your compostable bag and put at the transfer station. Nikki Weiss is heading that up, the transfer station. Find out more information about it. I think it'll really help with the 29 trucks, huge trucks that we send down the highways with our trash to go somewhere else. We're at over 1 million pounds deficit for what we can hold in the state for items that we put at the transfer station. So kudos to everyone that's working on it. It's just a seed, it's a start. But if we could go, I just wanted to sort of hawk that program because I think it's going to be very helpful.
And I want to thank LaShot Town Farm, who have been hosting. They hosted our recycling conversation, they hosted a solar conversation that Eric did, and they just hosted this program that we did on food scraps. So it's in the beautiful Offutt Educational Center, and it was, a pleasure to partner with you guys doing that. So thank you.
Okay, we have one more question. Come on up. Everybody's getting brave at the end of the meeting. It's always the time to do it.
Hi, Sarah Boxa, Cardinal Road. Back to the taxes question. We don't have any idea what the new mill rate's going to be. The old one was 32.97. Do we have to wait until April to find that out?
So all of the materials for the Board of Ed budget and the Board of Selectmen budget is up. We did a preliminary budget history, which is a grid that says if everything were to remain the same now, the budget would increase, the net budget would increase. All of the things we've been talking about today, the net budget increase would be 1.67%, which combined with the new 1.6, so $1.2 million of a $77.1 million budget. We are only changing from last year $1.2 million increase. The grand list has gone up 38%. If you use those same numbers, the new mill rate will be 24.28.
Okay.
Going from 33.06.
Okay, so we can all do those calculations.
And you calculate it against what your new...
Correct.
And that's before we go to the Board of Finance. And again, I don't know what, Mr. Farr, who's sitting in the back, what he's going to add to the budget. But right now.
The other side of the bus looks great.
Okay, I think we're good to go. Thank you so much, everyone.
And I want to thank all the volunteers who sit on the boards, the appointed boards. Thank you for all that you do.
Yes, I'm sure if you did not get a question answered and you want